Hello everybody, and welcome back to Pravus Gaming and more Plague Inc. Evolved Custom Scenarios. Alright, one of my Discord viewers has sent me a request for a scenario that he has created on a subject matter that I've been very hesitant to touch in the past, but we're gonna give it a shot. It's AIDS. Because, well, AIDS is a horrible debilitation. There's nothing funny about it. So, I'm a little bit worried about getting demonetized if some people take it poorly, but let's give it a shot. I just have to find the right one. Is that it? Yep, that's the one by Zombies Rock. All right, here we go. The human immunodeficiency virus is a lentivirus, a subgroup of retrovirus, that causes HIV infection and over time acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. A condition in humans with progressive failure of the immune system allows life-threatening, opportunistic infections and cancers to thrive. Absolutely horrible. Really nothing funny about it at all. So this is a serious scenario because it's a real problem. Let's give it a shot. Now, this is a bioweapon for some reason, which is going to be very interesting to see how that works. I guess because you wanted to have automatic ramping up lethality, which does make sense. Like, this is actually probably a good choice for the AIDS scenario, even if it isn't actually a bioweapon. Unless you want to jump to certain conspiracy theories, which I will not discuss here. ATP boost, genetic mimic, aquacyclic stream file, and transstasis are what I'm going for by default. Is that good? Or do I want pathostasis? Let's try it and see what happens. I don't remember what my setup is for the bioweapon. The unofficial AIDS scenario. This is a fan-made interpretation of what the official AIDS scenario may have been, aka this is not an official scenario. Well, yes. We are indeed in the custom scenarios. That said, as this author did tell me on Discord, like, there's some theory about maybe this actually would have been an official scenario, but it was cut from the game. Probably for the same reasons that I've been very hesitant to jump into it. But we'll see. And it starts in Saudi Arabia because 90% of players would pick it anyways. Well, you're not wrong. That wasn't entirely my intention, so okay, you just beat me to the punch. Transmission. Blood 1, 2, and 3. Let's see, anything customized there? Don't really see anything. Okay, so that makes sense. Needles and blood is a common way that the AIDS virus is known to spread, or HIV, so that makes sense. Blood 4 is an option. Infected immune cells remain alive for longer, slowly replicating the virus. This is actually a pretty hefty amount of infectivity to start with, and some lethality, which is going to be very interesting. We are going to go for air, which I don't really know how that fits with the AIDS virus, but we'll go with it anyway, because I do want to start off a little bit stronger in Saudi Arabia. With this much severity, and especially with this much lethality, we are in kind of a dangerous spot right off the bat. Paralysis. Destroys motor neurons to cause paralysis, harder to cure, cannot devolve. Immune suppression. Attached to lymphocytes, suppressing the immune system, allowing for greater freedom of mutation, can be lethal. And fever, which again can be fatal. So there's no way to get rid of my lethality. That was my immediate thought, was can I get rid of lethality? But the answer is no. So this is going to be a challenging run no matter what. Also, it's a bioweapon, which is always ramping up lethality. Let's see. We have inflammation, we have rash, headache, and nausea, insomnia, and cysts. A lot of these are pretty good for infectivity. I'm a little concerned about ramping up severity too much, though. For our abilities, we have drug resistance, which makes perfect sense. Naturally resistant to basic antiretroviral drugs. We've never really figured out how to really suppress or get rid of it, just kind of manage it more or less. Viral instability, cold resistance, heat resistance. None of your classic bioweapon, like, resetting of lethality abilities. So I'm glad that I didn't go for the pathostasis, which was my original intention. It does tell me this is actually going to be a very challenging scenario. So transstasis is probably the right call here. We need to ramp up our infectivity as much as possible without hurting our severity much more. Getting headache right off the bat kind of worries me a little. Saliva's not a bad idea. But air 2 is a better idea. So we're going to save up for that. There it is. All right, let's get a really strong early spread in Saudi Arabia. We need to spread fast. I mean, really dang fast. I will pick up the saliva. After that, I think we are going to start working toward humid countries. We are now in India, so water transmission makes sense. Could go for blood. It does slow the lethality increase, which is very interesting. Infected immune cells remain alive longer, slowly replicating the virus, increasing infectivity in poor regions, slowing the lethality. We need that. That is basically one of the abilities of the bioweapon kind of bundled into the transmission. I'm a little concerned about increasing mutation chance with Blood 5, though, even though the arid regions is very tempting. So we may... Whoa! Okay, we actually are spreading a bit faster than I think I expected there. So I'm a little concerned about that, but let's see. We're going to go for Saliva 2. That leads to more water. That's a lot of infectivity, so let's spend our DNA there. Could go for Saliva 3. Nasal cavity, increasing infection through contact with mucus, no infectivity, or sorry, mutation chance, and no special regions. We could go for things like insomnia to try and reduce cure progress, but I'm not super solid on that. Rash is tempting, but again, it comes down to the severity. I do not want to risk people shutting me down too early on. I do think drug resistance level 2 might be smart. The question is, do I want to go for cold resistance right now? We're not really in any cold countries at the moment, but we are, well, aside from Canada, but we are getting into wealthy areas. So let's go ahead and start with the drug resistance, but we will go to cold resistance pretty much immediately after that. First death in Iran. Okay, that is going to happen, yeah. I think we will continue to focus on the transmissions to start. Let's go for Saliva 3. That leads to extreme bioresilience. HIV can survive outside the body for a significant amount of time, boosting land, sea, air transmissions, and all-around infectivity by a pretty hefty margin. So transstasis was absolutely the right way to go here, I think. That worked out very, very well. We should be able to get that pretty quickly. One more DNA. There it is. All right, let's go ahead and pick that up. Lots of infectivity, and I think that increases my odds of getting into the islands a lot. So now I feel a lot better about going for things like Blood 5, even with the extra mutation chance, because now that I have this much infectivity, I think there's a good chance we're going to get into the islands regardless. Let's go for the cold resistance level 2. We could go for viral instability for extra mutation chance, which is interesting, by the way, that this is what the author went for, despite this being a bioweapon. So it really plays like a virus, but with the increasing lethality. That's a very interesting choice, but I kind of agree with it. I'm going to go for... do I go for the severity? I'm scared of it. Now, we're going to hold off a little bit. Let's try to get a little bit more of a spread. I think I could go for the blood. I don't need it. The poor in the arid regions are already spreading very well. Severity is scary right now. Mutation chance is scary right now. But we're going to do it anyway. Let's see what happens. I don't need any heat resistance. Again, we're doing fine in hot areas. It really comes down to Greenland and not having enough severity that they close down preemptively. And mutation chance is just the wild card here. We are in Iceland. That's a good sign. Spreading very well in Russia and Norway. So both places that have a port to get to Greenland are now very well infected. That's not it. Cysts. You're only missing Greenland at this point. I'm watching for a boat. Please. Oh, they close. See, and there it is. That's it. That's all it takes. Now we have to restart. Frickin' Greenland, man. But yeah, this is always the trick of a bioweapon scenario that's ramping up lethality. It just happens. Sometimes you get lucky, and other times you really don't. Oh. Oh, this is interesting. Now I kind of wish that I hadn't restarted. There's a special ability here that I didn't notice. I don't know where it comes from. Transmissions? Mind. HIV partially invades brain cells, occasionally causes ports to randomly reopen. There was a chance that we actually could have gotten into Greenland anyway. Oops. Oh, well, it's fine. Okay, you know what? We actually had an incredibly fast spread this time. I'm still not in Greenland, but I'm no longer worried about it because there's another ability here called Space. Someone in a random country mysteriously summons HIV to infect them. How they do that, we don't know. So, instead, I've diverted all of my points toward viral instability. We already have a pretty hefty amount of mutation chance with Blood 5 and what we had naturally with the bioweapon. So I do think going for 4 whole levels of viral instability for a ton of mutation chance is a very easy way for us to get carried to victory. There's nausea right there. We are only missing Greenland already, so you know what? Let's just go ahead and pick up space. That does lead to reality. HIV gains increased control over infected immune cells, greatly reducing opportunistic infection rates, which I don't really see how that's helpful, but okay. So we've, at this point, already infected the vast majority of the world. Like, I don't know what I did differently this time. I went for saliva instead of air 2 to start, but that's basically the only difference. And yet somehow, we have utterly annihilated. We're spreading incredibly fast. I want to go for things that can get me more lethality kind of early on here. Headache will not help there. Skin lesions will. So I'm going to go ahead and save up DNA for that. But we're going to get so much mutation chance that I'm kind of hoping that it's going to carry me to victory regardless. They've only just started on the cure. And we should be getting a mutation every, like, couple of weeks. So there you go. Polyphagia. That doesn't do a lot for me right now. Internal hemorrhaging's not bad. Delirium. Reduction in cognitive function causes irrationality and paranoia. Can be fatal. Significantly slows future research speed. I will pick that up just to guarantee a slightly better score. There are no healthy people left in the world. The entire world has been infected by AIDS. I'm so sorry. There's headache. Now, see, I don't want mutation to be getting a lot of cheap and useless symptoms, and that is kind of the risk right now with this play. Maybe this isn't the right choice or not. I'm not sure. We could take a lot of these cheap ones just to kind of rule them out, so mutation chance has to give us something more valuable. Or I can just go for what I know will be effective, and I think that's still a better call. We'll go for things like internal hemorrhaging. So we'll pick that up. There are a lot of symptoms here, by the way. Like, that is a shocking number of symptoms. Absolutely tons. I want to go for abscesses or pneumonia. Let's go for pneumonia. That opens up hypersensitivity, which I don't care about. That leads to systemic infection and joint pain. Yeah, I would have to spend a lot of time trying to go through all these symptoms. Did the author seriously take up every single spot? Like, holy crud, that's a lot of work. And finding ways to get this balancing are even harder. That is absurd. And not in a bad way, more of, like, awe-inspiring way. Wow. Yeah, the author really put some time in here there. Okay. I'm debating whether it's too much. There's necrosis, by the way. Because there are so many paths. One, the mutation chance, which is clearly a major factor of the scenario, is a little bit undercut by the fact that there are so many symptoms. On the other hand, a little bit of random zaniness. Maybe you're into that. That one I'm not sure about, but I'm not opposed to it either. I'm trying to think through how these symptoms are laid out and whether it follows a natural progression in terms of severity and lethality. It does, mostly. No, I think the layout here still sort of works. It's a little difficult to find out where you can get your good amount of lethality, right? Like, we're at the stage where I want a lot of lethality, and it's hard to find. But, at the same time, if you have a lot of mutation chance, it's not that bad. This works. I'm trying to decide if it's an area of improvement, but it's not that this is wrong. Not by any stretch. I think this does work. There is one thing that I will say I don't think fits in this scenario, and that is going to be this stuff. Mind, space, reality, and so on. I can't see what the other ones are yet. I mean, we could pick them up and see what happens. And you know what? I don't need it, but let's go ahead and try. Reality. Okay, I can't see them. All right. Well, I don't know what these other ones are. They don't really fit with HIV and what HIV actually is if you want to go for a realistic scenario. And frankly, I don't think it needs it. Like, I don't think it was too difficult to get into Greenland. Without the help of space, I think I could have gotten into Greenland myself if I was smart. And what you've done is you've basically taken a lot of the challenge out of the scenario by doing so for, I would say, not a lot of benefit. So my personal opinion is that this doesn't really fit that well, and you can get rid of it, and you'll still have a pretty well-balanced scenario. That's my personal opinion on that. You're the author. Do what you want. And there's something really horrifying about seeing that AIDS is going to destroy humanity there. Let's go for this. That leads to time. Stalls the destruction of immune cells, allowing to temporarily suppress opportunistic infections. I don't know what that means. What do you mean by opportunistic infections? I don't know. But yeah, HIV does not manipulate mind, reality, space, and time. Wait. These aren't... No, okay. I was going to say, they're not the Infinity Stones from the Avengers. No, they're not. All right, well, there goes AIDS. We actually were able to destroy the entire world in under a year, which is very, very fast. Almost too fast, but, I mean, we started with so much infection. Yeah, I would say that the scenario is unbalanced if you can go that fast, but because we started with so much infectivity. But because you start with a severity and lethality, I'd say that balances it out and makes it a fair scenario that actually is pretty difficult in that sense. So, again, I think if you got rid of the cheap, kind of cheaty abilities, so to speak, I think the scenario would be a little bit better balanced while still retaining a really good challenge to it. I think the symptoms might be a little overwhelming, but again, there's so much mutation chance, it kind of evens out, and it's well balanced in how it is thought out and put together. So I don't even think that that's necessarily a downside. It's a good scenario. This is a really well done scenario, frankly. It just really depends on how authentic you want to be to the actual AIDS virus. That's kind of it. And if you want to be really true to it, then maybe you want to tamp down a bit on the symptoms and trim out some that don't make sense. You want to toss out the abilities, that's kind of up to you. But as it is, it's fun, it clips along at a good pace, and it's pretty well balanced. Albeit, I was able to do it very easily. 10% cure progress, 108,000 points. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's unbalanced in terms of ease, I'm not sure, but yeah, it's good. I do highly recommend it. So yeah, guys, if you want to check it out and give some feedback to the author, by all means, do so in the comment section down below. I'm sure he'd be very interested, but I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. Hopefully YouTube does not demonetize me for mentioning a sensitive topic many a time, but we'll see what happens. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If so, then I ask that you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.